What's going on, everyone? So, Walker Kessler, according to new reports, the Utah Jazz have not and will not extend Walker Kessler, which will make him a restricted free agent next season. I am very big on Walker Kessler. I'm somebody that has been preaching Walker Kessler for years. I wish the Lakers would have gotten him. There was a couple moments where it seemed like they might have gotten him. Last offseason seemed like their best chance to get him, and they didn't end up getting him. And since then, it's kind of been one of these scenarios. We could see Walker Kessler kind of in a similar situation that we're seeing with Jonathan Kuminga, Cam Thomas, Quentin Grimes, Jonathan Kuminga, all of these guys, to where he could end up causing a little ripple, friction in Utah. That could be an opportunity for the Lakers to go and land Walker Kessler, maybe even this season, right? Especially if you could use, a better backup. I mean, you get Walker Kessler, that'd be fantastic. I mean, he's 24 years old, just turned 24 in July. So he's young. He's the guy that could be your center for the next 10 years. He's a guy that already is one of the best defensive big men in all of basketball, right? It's like Victor Wembanyama and then like Walker Kessler by like every metric. And even in some areas, Walker Kessler is actually better right now. And one of the things that Luka Doncic even talked about is that he really wants a rim protector. He really wants a shot blocker. But a couple things before we dive into Walker Kessler on the side of things. One, you're not bringing in Walker Kessler and giving him a new deal to be a backup, right? So you'd have to wait and see what happens with DeAndre Ayton. If DeAndre Ayton works to the level that I believe he will, then I don't think you have a need for Walker Kessler anymore. I know it pains me too. I really like Walker. I would love Walker Kessler. But the reality is that DeAndre Ayton is like the perfect molded, sculpted, ideal type of center to slot alongside Luka Doncic. He's athletic, can be that lob threat, but he's also a versatile offensive piece that isn't just reliant on Luka Doncic setting him up and getting him right. He's a guy that you can dump the ball down to, shoot over out of the shoulder, finish around the rim, right? But also be that lob threat in the same breath, right? He's got, absolute bunnies, put people through the basket, all of that stuff. I think he's going to feast on Luka Doncic. But talked about it even when we got DeAndre Ayton, we could end up being in the position we were pre-DeAndre Ayton next offseason, because if DeAndre Ayton is really good, could he price himself out for the Lakers? Right? If he's bad and it doesn't work out, are the Lakers going to re-sign him and keep him around? Are they going to let him walk? Right? So the idea of Walker Kessler is something that I still think should be in the back of our minds and should still at least be in the back of Rob Pelinka's mind. Just because, again, if the DeAndre Ayton side of things doesn't work out, then, you could go to him and maybe try to get a Walker Kessler, get a sign and trade, something like that. But if I'm being honest, right, if it was between DeAndre Ayton and Walker Kessler, I would rather have DeAndre Ayton, as much as I love Walker Kessler. But DeAndre Ayton, he's better established, he's more experienced, right? He is, again, kind of that ideal center slotted in alongside Luka Doncic. So to me, I just think DeAndre Ayton makes more sense for a team that's trying to win immediately, right? Now, you could maybe, if DeAndre Ayton can kind of find that three-point shot again, if LeBron ends up departing in the offseason, maybe go to the double big thing. I just don't think it'll work. Walker Kessler has shown the ability to stretch the floor, but it's not something that I would look to rely on with him. Same thing with DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Ayton has shown the ability to stretch the floor, but it's not something that I look to rely on him right now. Walker Kessler, to me, is somebody that's like break glass in case of emergency at this point, right? Like if DeAndre Ayton just doesn't work out, go look to Brandon Walker Kessler and let him kind of be the foundation piece going forward. Because, you look at DeAndre Ayton, I mean, he's 3 years older than Walker Kessler. So he's a guy like Kessler you could have for 10 years, but DeAndre Ayton, you could have basically all of Luka's tenure. And you have now that center and that, the point guard for, the next 8 years, right? Rather than the guard for 8 and the center for 10. Right? And then in a post-Luka era anyway, you're probably retooling and revamping and, hopefully you have another young star by that point, whatever, right? Like, hopefully you've kind of figured that out 8+ years from now. And I just think DeAndre Ayton and Luka Doncic, they can be your foundation for the foreseeable future, where Walker Kessler was ideal pre DeAndre Ayton. So it was like, man, we really need a center. Walker Kessler might be the best option for you, but he still is a guy that needs work. To me, Walker Kessler is a guy that gives you an immediate defensive impact, gives you an immediate defensive presence in and around the rim, but he also, needs the work offensively, but he still has plenty of upside to where he could be one of the top centers in basketball if you can develop him in the manner in which you're looking for him to be, right? But then DeAndre Ayton is the guy that right now, like if you're trying to win now in the foreseeable future, I just think you stick with DeAndre Ayton. He's the piece that makes more sense for that scenario. And then also, even if you did want Walker, like if you're somebody that's like, oh, I'd rather have Walker Kessler than DeAndre Ayton, would you rather have Walker Kessler over DeAndre Ayton in the manner of which you'd have to give up assets and trade to go get Walker Kessler when you could have DeAndre Ayton and then use those same assets to go solve other needs? So to me, it doesn't make sense to go and even trade for a Walker Kessler, even for insurance right now, because the Lakers have other needs that they need to solve and resolve, to where I just think it'd be better to, allocate those assets into solving kind of a long-term win option or whatever, right? Depth or whatever to try to win in these next few years than like, hey, let's go get a player that we don't really need right now in the event maybe we need next offseason. Now, if next offseason DeAndre Ayton leaves or walks or whatever, which if he's really good, I don't think he will. I think the Lakers will end up ponying up and keeping him. And I don't think he's going to get like a $38, $40 million. I think he'll probably be in that like $25 million range. So to me, if he's really good, I think the Lakers will probably get him on a new deal in that 25 to 30 million. And then that'll be good. So now you have your center, you have your guard, and then use those assets for everything else to now round out the roster. But obviously there's a lot of pros for Walker Kessler to kind of get into why Walker Kessler makes sense. Again, he can still be a bit of a lob threat. He's not as hyper athletic. Like DeAndre Ayton is like a freak athlete, right? But Walker Kessler's a guy, he can get up there. He could still be a lob threat. You see it even in Utah. He is one of the best defensive anchors in all of basketball, right? And you look at the Lakers, like what's one of the biggest things that the Lakers need? And it's defense, particularly interior defense, right? So if it's Walker Kessler or DeAndre Ayton as far as defensive purposes go, it's Walker Kessler. But I look at DeAndre Ayton, he's a better, more sound offensive player who also can be good defensively. Not necessarily Walker Kessler good because his numbers are like ridiculous, but he can be good enough defensively. And even DeAndre Ayton himself has said that, hey, I really want to be a better rim protector, a better shot blocker. I want to be a better defender for this team. Look at some of his numbers with the Phoenix Suns. It's one of those things where he'll be, I think he'll be fine. I think he will be good. So to me, I'm hoping that, DeAndre Ayton buys more in on the defense side of things, really kind of picks up the defensive intensity. And then, again, that could make another argument for not having Walker Kessler. But Walker Kessler, the upside is ridiculous, but it is worth mentioning. I think DeAndre Ayton's upside is still there. I mean, his best seasons were with Chris Paul, and he's going to be playing alongside Luka Doncic. And also, Luka Doncic's favorite outlet is the center lob threat. Not the only outlet, but it's his favorite. He likes to get into the teeth of the defense, clap the defense, boom, easy lob threat, easy, to try to dunk and whatnot, right? So to me, I look at it as like, DeAndre Ayton does have some upside. I think we're going to see the best version of DeAndre Ayton for the Lakers, but Walker Kessler gives you that defensive, stability right now, as well as that potential upside on both the offensive side of things, as well as, he's shown ability to even be a little bit of a playmaker in the post, a guy that can kind of, you run some action through, whatnot. He can make some decisions. Shown the ability to stretch the floor a little bit. So it's all things that I think you could work on with Walker Kessler to maybe even make him a better a better two-way version than DeAndre Ayton. But like I said, that'll probably take some time. I also loved the idea of Walker Kessler with Anthony Davis at the 4. It's just like good luck scoring on the inside when you have the two best defensive big men in all of basketball on the interior. And then obviously once we traded Anthony Davis and DeAndre Ayton as a center, it was like, dude, who would be better than Walker Kessler as far as that defensive anchor goes. And then he still has the upside and potential on the offense side of things to where you can kind of piece it all together. Obviously it comes down to cost and price and what does he want on his next contract. I would imagine he's going to be looking at kind of starting center money, which, has been in that like 18 to 25 million range. So to me, it only makes sense if DeAndre Ayton either doesn't work out or he ends up departing in a season or he just is too priced out and it just doesn't make sense for the Lakers to go and pay him, right? Like, let's say he wants 35, 40 million or a team offers him 35, 40 million. And it's like, well, we can go Walker Kessler for like 18, 20. Then I would rather go that approach, even just, to better round out and shape out the roster and all of those things. But there's also going to be a lot of teams interested in Walker Kessler. I mean, Boston was a team that was recently interested in Walker Kessler, and I imagine that they're going to be interested in him next offseason when they're trying to kind of retool and revamp their unit with Jason Tatum coming back and then, Jaylen Brown another year and stuff like that. So Walker Kessler, I think his time with Utah is probably coming to an end. I just don't know, one, if it makes sense for the Lakers anymore to go trade for him. Again, as painful as that is for me, because I'm a big Walker Kessler guy. But I just think realistically speaking, I think DeAndre Ayton is going to be great. I think he's going to solve all the needs that you have. And then two, it's just, I just think DeAndre Ayton is the better right now option. And what you'd have to pay to land Walker Kessler, I mean, unless you can get him cheap, but like I said, you're not going to bring him in as a backup, especially if you're paying him 18 to 20 million, right? You have so many other needs that you need to fill out, you need to better round out the roster that I just look at it as like, I'd rather focus on solving those issues, build out this roster to the best of your ability, and then go get, you can still get an upgrade at the backup center position, but it doesn't have to be somebody like a Walker Kessler. It could be, Nick Richards or something like that. And, maybe go that route, that approach. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.